Let's turn our attention to conservation matters here on ENCA on the South African Morning. It's Conservation Month, and I've been trying my best to speak to as many conservation organizations as possible. Globally, COVID-19 related job losses in various protected areas and reduced anti-poaching patrols badly affecting conservation efforts. Now, there's new research read up as far as the International Union for Conservation of Nature. It's revealed that Africa and Asia were the most severely affected. It's not surprising when you consider our protected species and tourism involved. More than half of Africa's protected areas reported that they were forced to halt or severely reduce their field operations. That includes field patrols, APUs, also known as anti-poaching units, conservation, education and outreach work affecting communities around them. So, let's speak to Nicole Robinson, the Chief Marketing Officer from And Beyond, joining us this morning. Hello to you, Nicole. The reason I wanted to chat to you, I saw a photo on one of the Cape newspapers a few weeks ago, and I saw two of the rhino having been dehorned as a way to try and stop the rhino anti-poaching. And we'll talk about the anti-poaching in a moment. First, Nicole Robinson, as the Chief Marketing Officer, how devastating was last year for And Beyond, globally recognized organization, incredible conservation work, but yet you still needed tourists and they weren't coming. How was last year?
Yeah, last year was something like we've never ever seen before. I've worked for the organization for just over 20 years. We've been through 9/11. We've been through the financial crisis. Those were nothing compared to what we experienced over the last year. Some of our lodges remained closed for up to a year. I think we all still, a little bit upside down as to the fact that all just happened. We need our model. I mean, we have 28 lodges across the African continent and one in Chile. And our model is that is funded. Our care of land, wildlife and people are funded by our guest room. And so, without guests, it really makes you look at everything at everything twice. I think one of our shareholders sort of coined the phrase that this last year was a great test of what happens when profit meets purpose in a dark alley. I'm really grateful to say that in our case, purpose won, but it's a tough year, a really, really tough year.
We're going to talk about the tourism in a moment and how potentially that is starting to recover. We've now heard reports that the US has put South Africa on a level 3 travel alert, allowing US citizens to come here, but no, we still can't go over there. I'll get your thoughts on that now, considering that's the kind of market that And Beyond aims at. But before we do that, we're looking at elephant, we're looking at rhino on screen. Nicole, I know you can't see it. Speak to me about conservation. This has always been key to And Beyond, hasn't it? How has lockdown affected conservation efforts?
Yeah, well, I think the answer is slightly different depending on the context in which we operate in. So in some cases we control and influence the wildlife and land management on the land, and in some cases we work with national parks. And so the answer is different in those different scenarios. Where we can control the efforts that we do, we have managed to keep all of our anti-poaching, all of our conservation experiences going. We have a volunteer program that we run at Pinder Private Game Reserve. That's normally fun. It's normally international volunteers that come through, and so we have had to look and change our tack at how we supplement that revenue. And so we have launched that program into the South African market as well. We also did some interesting things using virtual safaris to fundraise for some of our conservation and community efforts. We were able to use our community development partner, Africa Foundation, to help the community surrounding those conservation areas, because ultimately the conservation of the land and the wildlife depends on care for the people and most importantly, working with people, not for them. And so we responded quite quickly to the needs of the communities surrounding our reserves, and there was almost about $500,000 raised into some of those communities to supplement food, sanitization, clinic support, and so there was a lot of work done in that time in those efforts to people when they're looked after or cared for, don't need to resort to some of the practices that they've had to survive. And so that's just the reality. The communities are the most important line of defense for us around the reserves which we manage and control. And that would be the same in cases around parks in Tanzania and Kenya as well.
The parks that you all operate in and beyond, and many others doing incredible community work to try and help with the conservation efforts. It's amazing how important communities are in protecting our wildlife. It's much bigger than just trying to have a game ranger with a rifle. And Nicole Robinson, Chief Marketing Officer from And Beyond, incredible work. Congrats to you and your team, keeping the industry afloat, keeping staff employed and keeping animals safe. Congratulations to you and Beyond.